Look at that, man. You just can't never do right, man. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. Man, check this out. On this episode, what we're going to talk about is the NBA. Many of you who've tapped in know that the NBA has been under a microscope, if you will, at the time of this recording. And we're going to talk about some of the ins and outs of the NBA and maybe what the NBA can do, because by and large, people think that there's a problem. And as you see, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. I am not doing this episode alone. I have my boys back in the building. My first guest, he is a rapper. He's a poet. He is he's a recording artist. My man, 30 grand since I was in like the 10th grade. DLuvhall is back in the building. D, what up?
What's going on?
Man, can't call it, man. I see you represent with the Lake Show on today. So you caught into the NBA theme, I guess. And my other co-host, man, I've been rocking with this cat since the 7th grade. This man has a T-square in his back pocket as we speak. None other than my boy Zell is in the building. Zell, what up, though?
Same old, man. What it do? What it do?
Chilling, man. Chilling. I'm glad I was able to get through my intro without the jokes.
Hey, man, it was hard. It's very hard for me when I see new apps. I see new jerseys. I see Bubba Chuck. I see a lot of things, but I'm here. I'm here in the building. We good to go. I'm ready to rock.
Oh, yes. So I wanted to get you guys on, man, because all three of us are big NBA fans. We're not like a lot of people who've been watching the NBA for like 2 months. We've literally been fans of the NBA and teams since the 80s, for as far back as we can remember. And we're diehard fans of the game. But a lot of the NBA has come under a lot of scrutiny here recently. So I'll start first with just a simple question. For a view, and I'll start with you first, D. For a viewer, what do you think is the biggest issue, either you or what maybe you've heard other people voice? What do you think that has frustrated the viewers and the fans the most about today's game?
That's a loaded question, multi-layered. I try to keep it simple. I'll try my best. The flow of the game is nowhere near the same that we're accustomed to. 2 weeks ago, I believe, the Boston Celtics and the Chicago Bulls shot a combined 106 3-pointers in one game. Listen, neither one of those teams has anybody that even, justifies them shooting that many 3-pointers in a game, but they combined for 106 3-point attempts in one game. Every game I watch, there's about maybe 3 or 4 teams that still has off the ball movement, back screens, back cuts, down cuts, all that good stuff that we're used to. But a lot of the games now, man, you just see cats come down, couple of crossover attempts, maybe a halfway screen. They don't even set solid screens anymore, and then they chuck up threes. That's it. It's either threes or dunks. There's no flow to the game. There's no strategies anymore. And it looks like it's just appearance. It's just what it looks like. It looks like a lot of these players don't even really care during the regular season anymore. And that goes to something that we may get to that topic later, but just to simplify it, just like a lot of these players nowadays, they don't even really care about what the regular season looks like, and it affects the whole game.
No doubt. What about you, Zell? What do you think?
Man, that's a very convoluted question. It's not a simple one to answer, but I would just say, to kind of piggyback on what Derek was said, I think it's also the way we consume the game is different as well. It's like a lot more televised games, a lot of other competing interests. Style of play, I think, is definitely one that's up there because of exactly what Derek mentioned about the number of threes, the way they play the game now is kind of a 5-out system. Everybody's on the wing, no post ups, no mid range. I mean, the top 10 players, of course, have a mid range game, but you kind of let them create and let others sit around the perimeter and wait for kicks, and that's kind of what the game has become, and it become a little bit monotonous. I guess, there's no style from team to team. Everybody's kind of doing the same kind of offenses and stuff like that. So I think, it can become a little bit mundane. I think for me, I've been trying to to offset some of that. I try to get caught up in the details of the game to try to take me away from the overall game being trash. So I may look at the one-on-one matchup between Donovan Mitchell and Kyrie. I get into something like that, and to kind of take me away from the other stuff that I don't like about the game.
No doubt. I think both of you hit some really good points. I think for me, it's been a little bit of everything. What gets frustrating is, like you said, seeing guys chunk up threes like that. I mean, just and it's when you sit down and watch a game, that's when you realize threes are being shot at an entirely different clip than they ever were before. And I get it. The 3-point shot has been revolutionized, and we'll talk about that a little later. But I think the problem is that the flow of the game just doesn't. It looks discombobulated at times, and then sometimes I wonder if they're actually calling plays. When you're bringing the ball up the court, is the point guard saying 2 up, 2 down, or whatever the case may be? Are they running plays, or is it just let's dribble? Let's go to the the James Harden school of basketball, dribble the air out the ball, and then chunk up a step back 3 with 2 seconds left on the shot clock. The flow is so much different, and I think that's one of the things that is frustrating to see. Now, I'll be honest, and I'll be honest with y'all, and I'll be honest with my audience. Outside of, you guys know my favorite team is the Atlanta Hawks. Outside of the Hawks, and today is the day after Christmas, at the time of this recording, I have not watched a game outside of my favorite team in its entirety all season. Have you guys? I mean, outside of the teams that you watch, have you watched a game? Have you sat and watched a game from start to finish?
I have, but I mean, I have a couple of games. I've watched a lot of college games front to back, but I kind of get into it a little differently. But I have not a lot now. I haven't, if it get late and I'm on this couch and in the late West Coast game come on now, I might wake up when Charles Barkley and them cats start joking, then I'll catch up. And that's what I was going to add to part of the conversation is how we consume it, because you really don't ever really miss a game. I mean, you can just turn on YouTube, catch the little condensed version of it, right? So
this is true.
So I do a lot of that too. Yeah. I watch a lot of highlights and consume stuff after the game. So yeah.
What about you, D? Outside of the Lakers, have you watched the game from start to? How many games have you watched from start to finish?
I've tried, man, but it's hard. It's really hard to watch a whole game because once I see the flow, if it's gonna be that, I did try to watch one game, y'all. I wish I could remember the game or the teams, but I was watching the game, and there was a 2-on-1 break, right? And the wing ran to the corner on a 2-on-1. He had a layup or a dunk, and they ran to the corner, and the defender was able to pick the ball up, and he shot a 3 when my man passed it. And I turned. I said, nope, I can't do this, because when did that happen? When did that change that the wingman runs to the corner when he had an obvious layup or dunk? He literally flared to the corner, and when the man kicked it to him, he shot the 3 and he missed, and he got the ball back. I turned. I said, I can't do this. I just can't do it, man.
Yeah, man. Unfortunately, that's where basketball is. I mean, I've seen that countless times. I remember last year watching the playoffs. Me and my son Cameron, we were sitting on the couch watching basketball, and I saw a similar thing happen. And I told him, I was like, "That's not a good shot." And he's like, "Well, Dad, the guy made the 3." I was like, "But you got a 3-on-1 break." I said, "Now, if If you kicking it to Clay or you kicking it to Steph or somebody, different story, because that's their 2-point shot. A wide open three is their 2-point shot. But if you kicking it to a guy that shoots 33% from three, that's not a good shot. I mean, it's not a smart basketball shot. If you penetrate and you hand it off to the guy filling the lane, then maybe he gets fouled and he gets the and one and you still get 3 points. But yeah, it's just different, man. It is truly different from. And again, I'm not one of those people that is on some. I need a game to go back to how it was when we was coming up, because let's be honest, the game that we watched back in the day, we had your Showtime Lakers. Then we had Zell's Rough House, them boys from New York City who were inspired by the bad boys from Detroit. And then we had, the GOAT, we had Black Jesus in Chicago. So totally different styles of basketball, but I think you could appreciate, and you could appreciate what the 80s Celtics did. And then the game evolved and it changed. My next question, and I'll start with you, Zell. You talked about how we consume the game. What do you think are some of the hindrances in some of the things as far as how we consume the game? So and what I mean by that is, like, are we distracted by the fact that when you turn on the game, you got cell phones? Like you said, you don't have to sit and watch a game in its entirety. You got Netflix, you got, you got Instagram, we got so many different things wherein in 1995, if we wanted to sit down and watch the Rockets, then that's all that was on TV. Like it was either that or Cheers. Like, so it wasn't like a lot of competition as far as your viewing pleasure.
Right. Yeah, 100%. No, I think that has a lot to do with it. And I don't think a lot of the leagues have kind of mastered the various platforms in which content is distributed. I mean, I understand with the last, I guess, deal they had on the table, they looking at maybe some of the more streaming sites, but even streaming sites are still, I mean, you're still not, I mean, there's Twitch, there's Instagram and TikTok, and I mean, there's just a lot of different places where I know my son, I mean, he was literally on his phone, he would just stroll all day, like take a break. There's no television, there's no cable, there's no remote, it's this. I'm scrolling through my phone. So he likes basketball, but I doubt he's seen a whole game from beginning to end. So yeah, I think how we consume it is much different. YouTube, like I said, condensed versions of the game where they show you all the makes. They don't show you know what I mean. Like you could just oh word, he got off. Like I've done that before. Like I missed the game. Let me go back and check out a quick little 8-minute video. Our attention spans are not what they used to be, a competing interest. I mean, there are other things like, live television is probably not the thing anymore. Like, I mean, how can it be when I could just go find it somewhere else and catch it? I mean, they tried to run up Beyonce behind the basketball games yesterday. And I know nobody ain't going to admit it, but people turned, right? People turned.
Of course.
People turned away.
Think about it. You watch a basketball game or you going to watch Beyonce?
So
you ain't even got to be a fan of Beyonce's music. You gonna watch Beyonce.
So I was different. I did it reverse. I was like, I could catch Beyonce on YouTube like at halftime. so 100%, man. The way we consume it, social media, just all of that, I think has impacted. And I'm not so sure if the leagues, NFL, NBA has really caught up with all the ways that they can really tap into their demographics. I mean, I was watching I'm guilty. I was watching Castanet and his Mafia-thon. And I don't watch the whole thing, but he like streamed for like a whole 30 days or something like that straight in a house in Atlanta. Like, I mean, that's what my son is watching. So, like, I mean, if he can catch a game in between Castanet and SZA, and Kevin Hart, I don't know. So I think, 100% that is different platforms, a lot of a lot of competing interests. And, my mother used to watch Michael Jordan play. I doubt very seriously she's catching any games on Sunday, waiting for Marv Albert and Ahmad Rashad to call the games.
No doubt. What about you, D?
I agree with a lot of what Zeke just said. I'll try to add to it. We know the NBA is the one league that markets itself on their superstars, right? And just my personal opinion, they don't have as many superstars as they think they have. They got a lot of stars. They have a lot of superstars like they think they do. So it's kind of that marketing tool they used to use. In like, for instance, Zeke's mother used to watch Michael Jordan because Michael Jordan used to get marketed very well, and it drew in a certain demo to watch him. The announcers they used to have, you getting rid of Mark Jackson and Van Gundy for money reasons, but we was watching to hear them talk about the game. They would keep us entertained during the lulls of the game. But now you're getting rid of them and you're bringing in lesser talent. I'm not going to call names, Richard Jefferson, but you're bringing in lesser talent to call these games, and we're not entertained by the announcers. We don't want to hear them talk during the game. Thus, we start turning away from the game itself. When you market a team or you market a weekend, Sunday game, who are you marketing? Who's the players that you're marketing that we want to see? Do I really want to see Jason Tatum dribble the ball 15 times and shoot a three? I don't. And that's not Boston hate, but Jason Tatum can do more than that. But when I see him and Jaylen Brown settling and doing that, I don't want to see that on top of hearing the whack announcers. So yeah, I'm a number one victim. I literally wake up in the morning, get ready for work, and I go to YouTube and see what game highlights are on, and I watch that while I'm getting dressed. I do it because it's better for me. It's quicker.
Mm-hmm.
They show all the makes. Yeah, they do. But I don't have the time to dedicate to them and get up at 5 a.m. I just don't do that. So yeah, while I'm getting dressed or whatever, I'll snap YouTube on because it's easier access for me to do it. And plus, I don't have to hear the janky announcers doing what they do. Some of these announcers that they got calling these games, they think it doesn't matter. Somebody up top thinks it doesn't matter to the consumer, but it matters. It matters whether you like Mark Jackson and his political view or his religious views, whether you like Van Gundy and where he comes from, whatever you like. That duo, that with him and Mike Breen was in too, right? With the Mike Breen.
Yeah, Mike Breen.
Whether you like them or not, that team was entertaining to listen to during the game. They added some knowledge and some entertainment during the game. That's why Charles and Kenny and them are going to be around. They add entertainment value to something that is kind of in the lull right now. So the people that think they don't matter, those announcers and all that stuff, all of it is all encompassing for the entertainment value. And when you don't put it together the right way, and then you get the style of play they're doing, it's hard to consume that. So yeah, it's easier to go to a streaming service and get the quick hit and go about my day. It's easier for me.
And
no doubt. Same here. Go ahead, Zell.
No, I was going to piggyback on Derek's marketing of the game and the superstar component. And I think that's a bigger issue than maybe the NBA. Well, I'm sure they know it behind the scenes. With the globalization of the game, you're now bringing in, international players who, from a marketing standpoint, it doesn't really register, I guess, on the American kind of ideology of what they're looking for in terms of what's appealing, what's relatable. Sometimes, like Giannis, as talented as he is, I mean, people probably don't really care about what Giannis is doing or what he even has to say after a game, and I think that is a bigger issue, now that we at the post-LeBron era, post-Curry, post-Durant era, there will be a deficit in terms of quality, marketable talent that you can get behind, that corporate interests would like to get behind, that would be appealing to the masses. So that is something that they're facing that I don't know if they've really. I mean, I think they thought Cooper Flag would be, but as we clearly see in the first quarter of the season, he ain't really like that. So.
Right.
So all the Cooper Flag fans, I don't know. He might be a ways out before he can be the face of the league. So
No doubt, no doubt. And I think both of you made some great points. Zell, I want to go back to something you just said, as far as like marketable stars. You know, what is the next set of stars look like? And the reason why I'm asking that question is because like I do remember, and I remember the three of us having this conversation many years ago. You know, because there was a bubbling conversation at the time. This was the late '90s. It was like, who was going to be the next Jordan? And we clearly knew that it was not going to be a next Jordan, but the question was like, who was going to carry the mantle as far as the league was concerned? And to David Stern's credit at the time, it wasn't just one person. Like they did a really good job of marketing stars like Kevin Garnett, obviously Kobe, Tracy McGrady. Those were the next guys. And I know Allen Iverson. Those are the next guys to carry the league. And I tell people all the time, I think right now, 1 through 15 on each team, the league probably has never been, as talented as far as players, as far as skill wise is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have the markability. Case in point, you just mentioned a Greek Freak. So you got guys like him, you got guys like Joker, Nikola Jokic, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, and what I just named was three of the best, probably top 5 players in the league,
mm-hmm.
and they're not American-born, players,
Right.
Which could be problematic for some, and it's also from a marketing perspective, like Giannis is a guy who is a funny guy, at least from what people try to tell us, but the Greek humor don't necessarily translate to commercials in Madison Avenue, and it doesn't register with this newer generation who are solely into 30-second clips. If you don't have them in the first 15 seconds, they've scrolled up and this TikTok, they've moved it on. They're not into you. They don't have time for you to develop your personality or to show what type of personality that you have. So as far as marketable stars, who are the next generation of stars? Because like my question to you guys is, who's the next generation of stars? Because when I look at guys like Zion, who was supposed to be the next star, who some people now are calling a bust, Ja Morant, a guy who's supremely talented off the court issues. And I'm just using those just to name a few, but like, who's that next crop of, or is there a next crop of stars that's going to take this league to the next level? Because if we think about it, the 3 main stars in the league, Curry, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant, realistically, we got maybe 2 or 3 more years with those guys, literally. So I'll start with you, Zell. Marketable stars. Who is the next crop of stars, if there are some, or should they, scratch the board as far as like trying to find the next star?
I mean, that's a tough question because with social media and people having so much access to these folks and these guys, it makes it a little hard to kind of, the LeBron James model. I don't know if we're going to ever see something like that again, right?
No.
Like just in terms of the marketability, he had a lot of the urban qualities, plus he was polished, went to private school, and he was able to kind of polish that off and still kind of maintain some marketability to a cross section. And he kind of remained, for the most part, relatively clean off the court.
Right.
That's what really makes it, such an ideal person to market, because you don't have to worry about what he's going to do on a Friday night in Atlanta on a road trip, right? Atlanta and Miami back to back. You ain't got to,
right.
You ain't got to worry about that. So it's really hard. For those the younger talent, because the league is getting younger. For the younger talented kids who have to grow up with a social media era where people are kind of digging up. Like, look what's happening. I know this is a different sport, but Travis Hunter dynamic and him being, possibly, with top picks in the NFL, and he has to endure them digging up, how every little communication he has with his girl. He need to send her butt home, but that's another one. That's another situation. But it speaks to the next crop. The next go home, nigga. Go home. I'll be there in a minute.
Here we go.
everybody can't go, man.
Circle got small. Everybody can't go. That's what
Go.
Nip said.
But yeah, I mean, I like Ant-Man. I like his personality. I think he has a super big personality. It'll be ideal. I think he's had a couple of little stumbles off the court, but I don't think it's been too bad to where he can't recover. But he needs a little bit of an edit button. So his shoe is selling well. I usually look at things through the lens of like, the sneaker, and his sneaker's doing good amongst kids. I don't know about grown folks, but the kids are kind of, because I coach AAU, I see a lot of people with those Adidas his shoes on a lot. So I say Ant-Man. Brother, it's tough because, sheesh, it's tough. I mean, maybe the little guard for the Knicks, my man, little man.
Okay, Jalen
Brunson, Trey, Ice Trey.
I don't think Trey's a star.
I mean, he can be. He's just playing for a sorry team. I mean, he just gotta.
But I mean, and see, that's the thing. I think that's the thing that really kind of shifted my opinion as far as like how what the NBA does as far as marketing. Because yeah, Trey's a guy who scores a lot of points. He's not on a really good. He's on an average team at best. Yeah. A team that can have these nights where he goes off or whatever like that. But to build him as a star, he's not a star. Like he could possibly be some of the ones that could help carry it, but he's not a star. He's not on that. I don't think he's on that level.
It's going to have to be a collection. I mean, it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be one person that's holding that flag up like LeBron did it. I don't think you're going to see that again. It's just hard. I mean, it's hard to just identify it. I mean, because all the guys that I'm talking about are not playing in any of the major markets. I mean, besides Brunson, I mean, Ant is playing in Minnesota. I mean, Wemby is foreign and still kind of weird watching him shoot threes. I just don't see a lot of the international guys really attracting a cross section of American viewers to the point where they want more. I just don't see it. It doesn't appeal to me. I mean, I admire what they do basketball wise. I think is attractive, but off the court, I mean, I'm not checking for nothing they're doing, or even interested in it. So I don't know, Derek, you might have a better crop than I do.
I'm glad you mentioned Anthony Edwards because he was going to be my first name. I was going to say that they can't market.
Yeah.
Especially needs an edit button. You can't be in pressers or you can't be in your locker with your shirt off, nigga this and nigga that. You can't do it. You can't. I mean, listen. To us, it's phenomenal stuff.
Right.
To us, it's like, yeah. But for the league, it's like, bruh.
Yeah, you got to edit yourself.
You can't do it. It's hard. Ja got guns in the club and all this shit. Can't do it. Some of the stuff that we're not discussing about marketability, as far as like the players from the past and the players from today. A lot of players from the past, they want it to be marketed. They want it to be marketable. Do these players really want to be marketed by the league, or are they more concerned about marketing themselves through social media? Because it's easier to market themselves through Instagram and TikTok as opposed to having the commission of the league and, sorry to say, white execs controlling what their marketability looks like. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of this is they have to want to be marketable. And I'm not sure today's crop of especially young guys, these young guys nowadays, they move different. They control their own destinies with those phones and them laptops, man. They don't have PR teams. They don't have social media people that's controlling their stuff. They actually post themselves. You know what I mean? Think about when LeBron going with the 0 dark 30 mode. Everybody turn your phones off, turn your socials off. These dudes is socialing during halftimes of the game. They're going social media posts during halftime of the game. So crazy. Marketability is tricky because a lot of these guys they're more inept to market themselves in a way that they want to be marketed. We all know that Ja ain't no thug. We know that. But the way he markets himself in Memphis can come across like he got that gene in him. Well, we know he doesn't. But he's appealing to a different market because that's more appealing to him, and the league can't do anything about that market. They don't want to touch the urban market. They claim they do, but they don't. Perfect example, look at your shirt. They didn't want to touch that urban market. You know what I'm saying? David Corleone came in and David Stern came and he put a dress code on it, take the chains off, take the do-rags off, blah, 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 because he didn't want no parts of that. This new commissioner, well, I say new no more. He's the commissioner, the current commissioner, he's kind of soft. We know he's kind of soft. He's a player's commissioner. So his strategy is like kind of letting them free ball, letting them freestyle it. And, you know, LeBron and Steph and KD, they're probably going to be the last of this generation, this breed of the league having more say in how they market them as opposed to the players themselves taking more control over how they market themselves. It's a different animal. And once again, let's go back to the point Zeke made earlier. The league got to kind of, you know, take a step back and reevaluate how they want to, you know, navigate through these new socials, because they got to. You can try to control it all you want to. This thing is so big, you cannot control it. So your best bet is to try to figure out how to navigate it with these new players, these younger players, and then try to market it from that, because Anthony Edwards is a prime example. Clearly, he don't give a damn about what you think of him when he's speaking to the press. He doesn't care what you think of him, and that speaks volumes to the quote-unquote well-spoken athletes from the past. You know, who was very they controlled everything they said. They was real, you know, careful, and you know how Mike was, how your God was. He was real careful with what he said on the mic.
Hey, man.
You know what I'm saying? So, but these new cats, they just saying it, man. And it's like a lot of it is true. It's just the way they're presenting it is so up in your face. The league gotta kind of, they can't reel it in, but they gotta try to find a way to navigate that and figure out how to coexist with them. Because if not, I see more players going the path of marketing themselves as opposed to waiting on the machine. The machine is dying. The machine is dying in every industry you speak of. The machine is slowly dying. And these new players, the young players, I got to stop saying new. These younger players, they move different, man. They look out for themselves and they cruise, and they don't care about how the league try to market them. They don't care.
I agree 1,000%. You know what? It's time for us to take a quick commercial break. And on the other side of the break, when we come back, we'll have more with my boys, DLuvhall and my boy Zell. Sit tight. We'll be back in just a second. And just like that, we are back. Once again, it's your boy 12 Kyle. This is the 12 Kyle podcast. We're talking about what's wrong with the NBA. I got my childhood friends, DLuvhall and my boy Zell on. And before we went to the break, we were talking about just some of the things that are going on. Now, I want to pick you guys' brain about this. And this has really been the impetus for why I wanted to do this particular episode. At the time of this recording, a couple of weeks ago, Commissioner Adam Silver laid out some new ground rules for the upcoming All-Star weekend. Now, many of you may not know this, but at one point in time, the All-Star weekend was like a really, really big thing in the NBA. The crown jewel event around the All-Star weekend was the slam dunk contest. So I want to touch on that as well. But they have initiated a new format, and I'm not going to get into the format. You can look it up. They've initiated a new format to draw more interest, not so much as interest in the actual game, but to make the game more competitive. When I saw it, all I could do was shake my head, because I'll be honest, I have not watched an All-Star game. I've watched All-Star weekend, but I haven't watched an All-Star game probably in the last 3 years. Because I mean, guys shooting logo threes, no defense, just a bunch of dunks. I mean, after a quarter, I was just done. Like, that wasn't anything like and I know we may or may not ever get back to the ultra competitive All-Star games of the early 2000s and the 90s. I know that may not never happen. but I know you guys saw that because I think I put it in our group chat. So, D, I'll start with you. What do you think about this new format for the All-Star, and will you be watching?
I'll answer the second question first. No.
Okay.
I don't watch it anymore. I try, man. I really do try. Can't do it. As far as this new format, just me speaking personally, they can implement any format they like. They can change anything they want to change. They really can. They can, make a 5-point shot for them. They can do anything they want to do. Go MTV style they want to. The biggest issue is and always will be the competitive nature of the players involved in the game. It doesn't matter what you do to the format if the players don't get themselves invested in some sort of competition. Now, I'm not saying they got to go all out. I'm not. They don't have to go all out. But clearly, they don't compete on any level during these games anymore. So it doesn't matter what the format is if the players themselves don't involve themselves or invest themselves in being competitive. You got to compete a little. No, you ain't got to Gary Payton lock down, motherfucker. You ain't got to do all that. But you got to you at least pretend that you're kind of trying to compete. They don't even do that anymore. And I don't want to put the blame game on people, but usually the spirit of the game is kind of taking on the leader, or not the leader, but the most popular player usually sets the tone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the popular players are like laid back and chilling, other players are going to lay back and chill. I mean, what did Cat have about 9-10 threes last year?
Something like
it was
that.
ridiculous. I tried, brother. They scored 200 points a game, yo. I can't get with that. So if the players don't compete, the format will never matter. You can do whatever you want to do. Those players have to compete a little. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I'm not interested. I'm cool. I'll wait till April and May.
What about you, Zell?
I'm not so familiar with what they've done. I know it was something about 4 teams or something. I don't know what they're doing with the.
Kenny's going to coach a team. I think Charles is going to coach a team, and Ernie's going to coach a team, and Candace Parker's going to coach like the G League. I can't even remember.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I do think. I mean, so let me see if I can put this in perspective. I'm not sure if I want to watch 80s basketball today either, though. You follow what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, like,
no doubt,
the game has to evolve. So, and I think Derek is right. I mean, I think it does come down to, the individuals in the game who kind of figure out ways to make it competitive. But I think there was something they did format-wise, I want to say, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, and it came down to a last-second shot, and I believe AD missed some free throws, and it was some last-minute kind of things going on, and it was getting kind of competitive. I forgot what they did, but didn't they go up to a certain score or something like that? Or has that run its course? I don't know. But I remember that one looked like it had those adjustments, like it had something to it. For whatever reason, guys kind of, turned it up a little bit to try to win the game. And there might have been some money attached to it. I'm not so sure. But I understand kind of the dilemma that they're going through and trying to make it something that people want to watch. Like, I also believe style of play. Like, I think, without what made, because sometimes I think we lump 80s, 90s, and 2000s together, and they were like 3 different eras of basketball too. I mean, that wasn't the same stuff. Isaiah Thomas and Magic actually being playmakers and actually coming down, competing and throwing funky passes and all that used to be very exciting in the 80s. And then, the Michael Jordan era, Kobe came through and did his thing and made it very competitive. But I think everybody did something a little bit different to make the game marketable. Even Jason Kidd and Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady came in and did some things I thought that made the game exciting. So sometimes I struggle between, do I really want to see, do I want to be entertained or do I want to just see competition? I think it's a little bit of both. I think they reached a point where let's entertain and then let's find moments in the game where we compete. I think that's probably the ideal solution. Because no one's gonna play hard. I'm just being honest. I mean, I've been to an All-Star game. That ain't happening. Cause like I seen Bubba Chuck before the All-Star game, and you can't tell me that this cat was actually gonna play. I'm like, you're not playing tomorrow.
Right.
No way you're gonna be. No way you're playing tomorrow. It's 5 o'clock, dude. Like, where you go?
He's still in the club.
It's 5 o'clock, and you got bottles. You still got bottles. So I mean, it has to be something. Yeah, I'm not so sure. I mean, I tune in, but I don't tune in trying to. I mean, I know what I'm getting. You know, it's like you know, watching a bunch of kindergartens go out and play full court for the first time. It's just gonna be a bunch of crap. And you just got to find something to make you laugh. That's how I look at it. I do think the 3-point shooting contest might be decent, right? Aren't they still doing Sabrina? Are they doing Caitlin? And
I'm not.
Jeff?
You know what? I'm not sure. I don't think they've announced it yet.
I think it was supposed to be something that might be a little bit because you know that's just shooting the ball. Can't nobody really get hurt. So. Because you know the dunk contest now. I mean, you almost got that. I mean, we don't. I mean, how many dunks can we like? Who's gonna really impress us with dunks really right now? Like, is there anything without some clowning buffoonery going on? Like, what are you gonna really do now? Like, it's getting to the point now where I don't even think NBA players can dunk anymore and entertain us. Like, I don't. Who's gonna be?
It's past that point.
Yeah,
I think it's past that point, man. I mean, like the reality is. The reality is with the dunk contest, man, and I mean I've been very critical about the dunk contest. Actually, me and my boy Baylor did an episode. It didn't come out because I messed up the episode, but yeah, it's there's nothing that we haven't seen. I mean, absent of somebody taking off from the 3-point line, you know, you're not going to do a dunk. Now there are some street dunkers who are doing things that we haven't seen. But, the reality is you're not letting the street dunkers in the NBA dunk contest. You know what I mean? Hell, it's bad enough you let a little G leaguer in there. And I ain't seen that dude since the dunk contest. I don't even know if he got any run in the game. So, yeah, I personally, I am totally in favor of getting rid of the dunk contest all around. I'm done. I'm done with it. I'm done. And I will not watch a minute of the dunk contest. What's frustrating about the All-Star game, at least the last couple of years that I did watch it, was hearing the announcers, "Oh, it's back. It's being competitive." No, it's not. Like y'all, right? Like hearing Kenny and Draymond and Shaq and all of these people amp it up as if they're doing something. They're not doing anything. This looks like if you've ever been to NBA shoot around, I've seen more effort at shoot around. I've seen more effort at NBA. When you get glimpses of NBA practices, you can't sell me on that. So when you do everything around the All-Star game, and the All-Star game, you got a 3-hour pregame, and then you got, yeah, right. Then you got, a half-hour intros. Then you got a halftime show that, lasts about 20 minutes. And then you got post-game. I mean, you're literally talking about a product that's on TV for the better part of 6 hours. And no, I mean, and the game's going off at like 11:30, 12 o'clock. And guess what? We got to get them to go to work the next day. Right. No, I'm not here for it. So like, I'll tune in for the 3-point shootout. Skills competition, I could take it or leave it. The dunk contest, I'm not here for it. But the All-Star game, I'm like, I'm not watching. Now that is something I'll pull up on YouTube on Monday morning and get the highlights from, because I don't have 3 hours to waste. I'm sorry. I will watch. I'd rather watch the Cleveland Browns play the Buffalo Bills. And as boring as that game sounds on paper, I would get more entertainment out of that than the NBA All-Star game. And y'all know me, I love basketball. I'm a big fan. But like I can't do it, man. And I don't know. I think it's past time. I don't really, like D said, I don't know. You can put all of these things in place, but unless you're going to be more competitive. And to your point, Zell, when you see NBA players and you see the kind of commitments that they have, and the All-Star weekend is, you got 48 hours like everybody else. but you're trying to go, you got to go over here to this endorsement. You know, you're working for Nike. Nike's got a party. You over here, you know, this rapper got a party, and you're just doing guest appearances. And like you said, you might be coming in at 5 a.m. So if you're coming in at 5 a.m., 10 a.m. is a shoot around, you probably going to miss shoot around, or you probably going to come to, you know, to the All-Star game smelling like last night, you know. So nah, I'm not with it, man. I can't do it. I won't invest any more time into the All-Star weekend. I just can't.
And I take a little bit of a different perspective on it because, you know, it's not just the players that got to figure this out. You know, these guys get paid. I don't know how much the commissioner gets paid, but I know it's a nice chunk of cheese that they get to sit up there and figure this out. I mean, they don't have to go out and play 82 games and ice their knees every day and recovery and all these kinds of things. I think, you know, the NBA has to do a better job in figuring out the best way to market this product. I mean, too bad. I mean, you know, too bad an 18-year-old can pick up a phone and market himself better than your executives can. But that's what they're going to have to figure out. I think we put a lot of the onus, and some of this, I think the narrative gets constructed in order to, you know, because these salaries have reached a point where I heard somebody say it today, like, you know, you don't pay $30 million, you don't pay somebody $30 million a year, and you look at them as an employee. Like it's kind of like insane. Like if I made $30 million a year, I mean, you know, you might have to call me boss. You ain't gonna be able to call me like. It's but so much, you know what I'm saying? Like, look what we have created. Like, I mean,
you're a partner.
Yeah, but you can't pay somebody $30-40 million a year and they not look out for their best interests of protecting that. I mean, and then at the same token, I think, you know, the NBA has to figure it out. I mean, like I just talked about Cassinet and the numbers that he does and that whole little movement that they're doing. I mean, the NBA, you're gonna have to figure it out because it's being done. It's not like it's not happening in other sectors. It's happening. So, you know, loosen up the tie. Something got to give on that side of the fence too, unless you're just posturing so you can renegotiate, you know, a better agreement to have the owners, you know, get these salaries down, which could be a play too, because the narratives are so crazy that sometimes I wonder if it's another play at large, right? Like, what are we saying now? Like, the NBA is hard to watch. You globalize the game. I mean, we've done all these things that everybody said they wanted to do. I mean, it's still the second most popular sport in the world behind soccer. So obviously it's a product that still has value. So they better figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Hey, because once you renegotiate,
it's too much money there not to figure it out.
Hey, once you renegotiate, it can't just all of a sudden be popular again and we figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's making $3 million now. So
oh yeah, we definitely are going back to those days.
I mean,
but I want to take a point to what you just piggyback off what you just said, and D, I'll throw it to you. Something that you know gets talked about a lot, and fans are very frustrated about it. Load management. You know, players are missing games for, you know, nobody plays an 82 game season. Obviously, you know, your boy, our boy, LeBron, everybody's boy, LeBron. LeBron came out at the beginning of the season saying that he wanted to play 82 games. Personally, I didn't think that was realistic, given the fact that he's about to turn, at the time of this recording, about to turn 40. But what was interesting was, and I didn't tell you guys this, but on my trip to LA, when I got up with the homies, that night, they went to a Lakers game. And they were like, yo, you should come. And after flying across country, I was like, nah, I'm not going to go to the Lakers game, even though I wouldn't mind going. And keep in mind, I didn't even know how much the tickets were. They were playing Portland. Well, guess what? They go to the game. LeBron sits out. I would have been hot. I mean, fuming if I had flown across the country to hang out with my friends, and then we make up. Then they coax me into going to this game, and I go to see LeBron, and he come out there in street clothes. No, I would have checked into the game before and made a fuss about it. So, what is your take on load management? I know when people say load management, it always comes to LeBron, and I don't necessarily think that that's fair because he's not the only one, but teams are specifically holding players out, holding their stars out of games, especially on back-to-backs. I think Joel Embiid came out earlier this year and said he's not, for health reasons, probably not going to play in any back-to-back game. Like Zell said, you're getting paid $30 million a year. So that looks very funny when the fan is paying $200, $300, $400 for these tickets and you're not showing up.
Somehow I knew this topic was going to come up. First of all, Joel don't make 30. He make about 50, 55.
Okay. Who's counting?
That shit matters. Regular
Right.
niggas make 30. Let's be clear. Regular niggas make 30.
Right.
When I hear the word load management, unbelievably, I don't think of LeBron James first.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I think of like Kawhi. Yeah. See, you
Has
forget
he
about
even
him.
played this year?
No, he won't play this year. I think about Kawhi. I think about Joel. I think about Steph. Because somebody made a mistake and said they had the calendar that showed which game Steph was gonna miss, and somebody said the quiet part out loud a couple years ago. So it was so we knew they were doing it, but somebody admitted that they were doing it, and they had a calendar of games he was gonna miss. Joel is the reigning MVP who shitted on 2 countries to play for Team USA last summer. We got to cover the whole thing because I don't like him. He's an anomaly. I don't like anything about him. I don't like anything about. Let me just be clear. I do not like anything about Joel Embiid. Nothing about him. Now, this clown came out as the reigning MVP after going to the Olympics and saying that I will probably play no more back-to-back games for the rest of my career. How do you market the reigning MVP coming out of his mouth saying, I'm probably never going to play a back-to-back game for the rest of my career? And ever since he said it, he's been trying to correct himself since he said it out loud. But the whole load management thing, when Popovich did it, people like to add he didn't do it first. When Popovich did it, it made sense until that Miami game, the televised Miami game that he sent the players home and the commissioner lost his shit. All his players were older, had a lot of mileage on their legs. It made sense to some degree, and I don't think they called it that at the time. I'm not certain they actually called it load man. I don't even know where the term load management came from. But nowadays, you got like 20-something-year-olds getting load management games. That is a problem. The older cats who's taking a game off here and there, like you might want somebody to play 82 games because when Michael Jordan was 40, he played 82 games. That's dead. That era is dead. We all got to move on from that era. It's gone.
Right.
But when you got 20-somethings with no injuries, right? They have no lingering injury, no nothing. They're just like, I'm tired. And they get a game off. Like that is a problem for the fan base. That's where the fans are like, well, damn, really? And that's when the money comes into play. Like people really don't think about how much money these players make. And they really shouldn't think about how much the players make because the league and the owners handle a fist. If they can afford to pay these players, what do you think their pockets look like? And you don't worry about that when you come to the money.
Facts.
So they really should, in my opinion, they shouldn't worry about what the players make. But when it comes to the players' salaries, and then they're sitting out these games, right? And again, they're not even injured. They're sitting out, rest, but they're making up these fake injuries. It's tough for the league to expect us to spend money to come to these games, not knowing if some of these players are even going to play. We're taking a risk out of our money. And, we just talked about the economy before we started this joint. The economy out here is tough on everybody, mid-level. All of us mid-level people, the economy is tough. Parking,
exactly.
Food, concession stands, merch, going to the game. That's a lot. And I used to be a season ticket holder. I know. But what is coming out of my pocket? I used to be at every game hurting, but it was a different time, different, monies. But when these players are sitting out,
I remember you used to be at the All Hornets games.
Bobcats. When these players,
Bobcats.
Yeah, I didn't go to the Hornets. it's tough to sell that as a product. It's really tough. And now that there's a name to it, every game a player sits out, we just automatically say load management. It could be a legit injury, right? But we'll just assume that it's load management. And I don't know. Again, this speaks to something that Zeke spoke about earlier. But the way that things used to be, I'm not sure there's a way to rein it back. I'm not sure that there's a way to. I mean, somebody suggested that if you're going to do load management, that if it's a star, like Joel, for instance, say Joel is going to do load management, the games that they suggest he sit out should be the Philadelphia home games. That way the fans on the road get to see him if they pay their money. You know, they buy these packages that have like 3 games, whatever. At least he'll be playing on the road. But then how is that fair to the fans? You know what I'm saying? There's really no real way, in my opinion, to do this. So this generation, man. Oh, dealing with some of these people. Oh, load management. It's bad. It's really bad. It's bad.
What about you, Zell? What do you think about load management?
I'm having some connection issues over here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you fine.
Okay, I think Derek had like a little connection issue on my end, but I didn't hear everything he said. But I would definitely say it's difficult. I mean, it's particularly when you start talking about ticket prices and people paying their hard-earned money to watch games and superstars are not coming. It does, all of these things that we are discussing, it does, I think, take its toll on the fan. And it does create a sort of negative sentiment about the game. Like, again, I mean, I guess I'm not as bothered by it because, I know personally for me, it's so much like, I don't even like televised games with the NBA League Pass and all these things that they got going on that they didn't have quite as accessible back in the days when we really were watching the game. So you can almost set your clock to a game. I mean, now it's like you have access to watch every game every day. You know what I'm saying? So
every game.
Yeah. So I mean, if I can't catch you, I'm sure I will at some point. For me, because I don't go to a lot of games, but I can imagine if you're paying the kind of ticket price that they have, I can imagine that would be awful to pay $1,000 to see LeBron, and you got to sit up there and watch, D'Lo.
Bronny.
Yeah, Bronny. You got to watch it.
You come to see LeBron, you got to see Bronny. Listen, I would have been so mad, bro, if I had gone to that game and LeBron ain't show up. And and it's not like I haven't seen LeBron play before, but and I've seen him play in Staples. But no, I would have been hot. I'd have been furious.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
Last thing before we get out of here, man. Zell, you mentioned coaching AAU, and you and I have had this conversation off air before. I think we talked about it maybe a couple of weeks ago when we were on the phone, and I expressed to you my frustration in watching middle school basketball.
Right.
This ain't even AAU. This is middle school basketball where my daughter's a cheerleader. So unfortunately, I have to go to the games. Unfortunately, I have to go to the games to see her. But I don't want to see. I'm at the games, but I don't want to see the game. Like I want to see her, but I don't want to see the game. But I'm watching the game.
Yeah.
And I mean, like to see young kids, boys in particular, come in the gym. They haven't warmed up. They haven't done anything. Everybody's shooting threes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to blame Steph. I'm not going to blame, as D called them, the cute and cuddlies in the Splash Brothers. I'm not going to blame them, but obviously the 3-point shot it's really been the gift and the curse. We talked a little bit earlier about how, you see guys on a break and everybody's fanning to the 3-point shot. What can be done about the threes and the idea that we have to put up a lot of shots? Because like D said, there's a lot of shots going up, but everybody's not qualified to shoot a 3.
I mean, if you can't shoot a 3, I feel bad for you because you probably won't get to the league. So,
But this guy's getting to the league. He can't shoot
I
threes.
mean, they got something else going on. They 6'10" and super athletic and could defend. I mean, what I'm saying? I mean, the game is evolved into that. Like, I mean, I don't know if there's any way around it because of the influx of analytics and people who have pretty much said, like, you know, there's probably about 20 players who probably can afford to score at the three levels, you know, the three ball, the mid range, the post. And I think I heard Gilbert Arenas add two more areas, the ISO and something else he said. I heard him say the other day he added some more levels. But there's only a few of them that really have to learn how to score at those levels. Everybody else is standing in the corner with their hands ready to catch a three. And if you can't shoot a catch and shoot three in today's NBA, I mean, I'm afraid that you're not going to be in the NBA. I mean, you're not. I mean, it's just going to be hard for you. So unfortunately, you know, even in college basketball, even in high school, even in AAU, there is still an emphasis placed on hitting the open three. I mean, you know, maybe not so much the transition when I coach. You know, I encourage, you know, we get the two. And I think another thing that has evolved, and I know you said earlier about are they calling plays, and they actually probably are calling plays. The sad part about it is there's been an influx of what they call early offense. So early offense is transition out after a made basket. So it looks like you're just coming down and just jacking up something, but it's made to get a best look early in the shot clock. They do it a lot in college, and they do it a lot in the pros. And it is quick actions that come after made shots. And I know when I teach transition, I do teach run to the corners after mades. After makes, we run to the corners because my guards are pushing. And my guards, if you have corner threes, now it opens up the lane for penetration. And so I tell my guards to look to get to the basket. You draw defenders and then you kick. That's just basketball today. I hate to say it, but it is. But it has to be. Now, I one thing I don't like the big man. I guess all aspects of big man play being taken out of the game, like the lack of post ups. Wemby not posting up is a travesty. I do think post ups and playing in the post, I think that needs to come back. I mean, I do think there is a place for 2-point shots. So.
It gotta be.
Yeah, it's a place. But yeah, I mean, it is. I hate to say it, but it has trickled down into youth sports. And I know I try to make an emphasis on other things like, you know, y'all know I like to press and run, and I like getting up and down. So I'm always going to preach maybe a pace and space is what I preach. And give me space, give me pace. Let's get to that basket and we out of here. So, but you know, you don't practice that much. Kids play more games than they do practice. You know, kids don't just go out like, you know, how we played and we used to go and get in the driveway and all that. Like kids don't even link up and go play. You know, it's training going on. Everybody's learning step backs and catch and shoot threes, and they're shooting on the gun, and everybody's putting up hundreds of shots a day. I mean, because that's what it is. I mean, that's people are training and playing in games and not doing enough free play. And I think, and when you train, you just look at all these videos on YouTube. Everybody's shooting threes, catch and shoot threes, one dribble pull ups. Well, I mean, everything. So, you know, and if you're not teaching it, kind of, sort of, you know, parents would be like, you ain't learning nothing with that old head. He around there, y'all around there doing post-ups. Coach Washington got y'all doing drop steps. Boy, hey, you know the quickest way to hit the gym? You had them parents coming in, you doing drop steps to the baseline. Well, you have 2 kids in the gym next week. Oh, we out of here, Jack. They got my son posting up.
Facts. Big facts. Oh
Oh, man. But yeah, man. But yeah, other than that, man, I think it's, European game. I think they do a better job of teaching fundamentals and not, just focusing on one aspect of the game. So I mean, I give the international, because they don't play in all that AAU stuff. AAU stuff is showcase, play a bunch of games, and everybody's mimicking kind of what you're doing at the higher levels, because that's what the parents want to see. I mean, they want to. What is the quickest way that we can get to the next level so my kid can get an NIL? So, and that's what it is. So don't have practices doing post ups, dog. You won't have an AAU team.
What about you, D? What you got?
The original question. What was the original question?
It's really just about the 3-point shot and like, can we fix what we have currently now in the game? Because like I said, they're just being shot at a crazy clip right now.
Short answer, no, can't be fixed. The problem, well, not the problem. One of the problems is everybody can't shoot. It just can't. It's hard to tell people that, but everybody, that's not a skill. Even you can practice all you want. Some people just not going to be able to do it, right? It's unfortunate. Zeke made some good. He made some great points, actually. It's unfortunate that we don't have post play anymore because, I hate to switch this up real quick, but look at Angel Reese for a second. She missed a large number of layups, right, in the season, and her off-season workouts is she's shooting threes. What are we doing? She missed a plethora of layups. She had the most misses within 5 feet probably in the history of WNBA, and her workouts in the offseason are her shooting threes, right? That's just the way that the game goes. And everybody can't shoot threes. They just can't. But you got these nerds throwing these analytics around that show that a 3 is worth more than 2. I know we keep talking about the back in the day. That's all we know. We in our 50s. Sorry, crowd. Right. We in our 50s. All we know is back in the day. But can you remember there was a time when a player shot a 3-point percentage in the 30s, and that was just terrible. And now you got cats like, well, he shoots 37% for 3. That ain't good.
No,
that ain't good. When did that become good? When did 38% shoot be good? When did that happen? But analytics say, if they shoot enough of them, it'll cover the misses. And it's like, these nerds, these analytical nerds who done got involved, they ain't never played no. Has Daryl Morey even played basketball? Because he's one of the original nerds. Did he even play basketball? He's just a nerd, right? This old GM nerd. It's hard to, and when you the same thing we're talking about, we go to YouTube and we get these clips. We're grown ass men, 50 years old. We go to YouTube or Twitch, whatever, get these clips. These kids spend probably 20 times more time on these outlets than we do. So if we're seeing that, they're seeing it at a whole other level. I know Zeke is struggling coaching these young kids, trying to get them to put one foot in the paint. I know you struggle. I know it, because I know you. I know you are having the toughest time with these kids when you telling him, turn your back to the basket, put your hand up, get the pill, and turn around and see what it looks like when you turn around. You can't get them to do it because they don't. Hey man, I didn't see John Morant do that. You know what I'm saying? I don't see Trae Young doing that. Y'all, I don't see I don't even see fucking Cat doing that. You know what I'm saying? The only one I see doing that is Rudy Gobert. Y'all don't like him. So why would a kid do it? That's all they see is the people that they love and that who they, they respect as all-stars. That's all they see them doing. So yeah, I never had a problem with the cute and cuddly. Let me be clear. I never had a problem with the cute and cuddly. Right?
What'd you call them, cute and cuddly?
I never had a problem with them. I just found it fascinating how they allow my man to talk trash and nobody will punch him in his mouth. That's all.
I mean, he's
yeah,
the league. You can't punch the league in the mouth.
But when that's what you see winning, like if they were just shooting threes and they didn't win those titles, we might be having a different conversation. But once they started winning the titles, that changed everything. Like you can't diss it when it's working. But the problem is other teams tried to emulate it, but they don't have the same caliber of shooters or the same coaching. Because if you watch Golden State, whether you like Steve Kerr or not, they still do some actions that I saw last night, and I was like, I got a little nervous. I was like, damn, I don't like this. They still got actions going on, and we can't stop it. Like, we can, but the Lakers weren't used to that action, and a lot of teams don't run that action no more. So you can even have some of the shooters to make it happen, but if you don't know how to run the plays and get them wide open shots, they got to dribble and get screens for everything. That's all they're going to do. It's hard to tell kids not to do it when all you see NBA players doing is shooting all them threes. I mean, I feel bad. Like, Wemby should definitely be dominating in the box. His whole offensive, he should be starting in the box every time down the court, and let's see what happens. Who's guarding him in the box? Seriously.
Nobody.
He actually has skill.
Nobody.
He ain't just a big goof. He actually has skill. Who's guarding him in the box? But I think I just saw a stat. He was the fastest to 200 threes made in his career. Wow. What are we doing? He's 7'8", 7'9". What how tall is this dude? So that's just the way it is, my man. So we can, our old asses can complain about it, but the fact of the matter is, that's what these kids see. They don't want to hear us talk about, back to the basket. They don't want to hear us talk about no down screen. They don't want to hear none of that shit. They want to just chuck up logo threes.
or drop steps. They don't want to hear
steps in practice. They want to shoot from the crack and then cuss out reporters after the game.
Oh yeah, drop steps in practice.
What is a drop step?
I know.
Well, I'll say this, man, before we get out of here. I think y'all made some great points. I think it's the original question was what's wrong with the NBA. There's a lot that's wrong with the NBA. I think what they can't correct is what the things that they probably should be focusing on. And we just touched on a few, and I mean we really could keep going for a couple hours because it's a couple other things that they could tighten up, if you will. It's always interesting because as the game grows, you look and take assessment as to where the game is. And I heard something on a podcast the other day that made a lot of sense. Was like, I can't remember who said it, but they said something to the effect of like, in today's game, even kids coming up through the AAU circuit, nobody's learning how to play basketball without having the ball in their hands. And that struck me because like so much of what we learned in basketball growing up was how you played the game without the ball in your hands. What you're, like you said, Zell, you run ISO or you're running these drills or whatever like that. Everybody knows how to shoot, or at least they're training how to shoot. But, you got to, at the end of the day, you got to be able to move them puppies to play some defense. Sure. You got to be able to box out on a rebound. You have to have a certain skill set. If it's something you're going to do beyond AAU or beyond high school basketball. And I'm not even going to talk about the NBA because that's so far away for a lot of kids. But ultimately what I wanted to do with this episode was just to, engage in thought and some laughs as well, because that's what we always do. But before we get out of here, man, D, tell folks where they can find you. I don't know if you got a new album you want to plug or whatever, but the floor is yours.
No. I'm still on Instagram, man. DLuvhall on Instagram. I'm trying this TikTok thing. I'm still kind of learning how to navigate that. I don't really do X anymore for my own reasoning, but I'm on there, but I don't really be on there. That's it, man. I'm 2025. We got some things going on 2025. We'll see what happens when we get there.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Zell?
Easy does the VA on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, but I don't post nothing. I'm a classic lurker, so I lurk everybody else's content, and I laugh behind your backs and tell my friends in group chats is what I do.
You ain't supposed to tell people that.
Yeah, I think everybody's doing it.
And that's clearly what we do. Yo, let me wrap this podcast. Oh, it's the 12 Kyle podcast. We out. I'll catch y'all next time. 5 Gs.